Hello everyone, I am your host, Elias Sarantopoulos, and welcome to another Vectornator tutorial understanding how to use the node tool. A very powerful tool that transforms points based on different modes, as well as edit nodes using different node types, so you don't have to use your gestures. So inside Vectornator, let's start this off by talking about selecting, moving, adding points, and the different modes available to us. So I'm going to tap to activate the pen tool, and all I'm going to do is just tap some random anchor points to just create a straight segment like so. Okay, so how do we select anchor points? Well, by selecting the node tool, you will be able to see those anchor points. Also with the node tool, we can just tap to select those points. We can also marquee select to select more than one point, or we can just activate one of the three modes by tapping on the multi-selection tool to select more than one point like so. At any point, you can select and move an anchor point just by dragging it around. You can also use the mini joystick you will find at the bottom of your canvas. You can also change the X and Y coordinates inside the Arrange Inspector, or you can just use the arrow keys to move a point up and down or left and right. And finally, you can also hold the canvas with the second finger while you're moving the anchor point, which you will be able to enable snapping, like so. To add an anchor point, all you have to do is just tap on a path to add one point or more. We can also double tap on an anchor point, which will switch between a straight and isometric point, which means those two control handles are locked into alignment to each other, but the difference is that I can move the length of one handle more than the length of another handle, like so. I can also just double tap back again to go back to a straight point. We can also rotate the shape from its anchor point by activating another mode and use the rotation tool. So I'm just going to tap on the rotation tool, and I can rotate this shape like so. Or actually, I can move the pivot point and, for example, place it right here, and I can rotate the shape from that point of origin. We can do something similar by activating another mode and using the scale tool. And again, I can scale things up and down, or I can move the pivot point, for example, place it here, and I can scale things up from that point of origin. Now let's talk about editing anchor points. Again, I'm going to tap on the pen tool to activate it, and then just tap and add some random anchor points to create a straight segment like so. Okay, so as soon as I select one anchor point, in the Style tab, a panel appears to edit the node types without having to use gestures. So for example, I can tap on the second node type to convert a straight point into a smooth point or a curve with two control handles. I can just tap on here and do the same and convert straight points into curves. Or I can do the opposite. I can convert a smooth point into a straight point by tapping on the very first node type, like so. Another node type is the option to convert a straight point into an asymmetric point, as I mentioned earlier, by tapping on the third node type, which is this one. In this case, those two control handles are in alignment to each other, but the difference is that I can move the length of one handle more than the length of another control handle, like so. And the last node type allows us to convert a straight point into a smooth point or a curve with two control handles that are not locked into alignment to each other. They just each move independently. This is known as a cusp point. So let's go ahead and practice using those different node types and create a shape as such. Again, I'm going to tap on the pen tool to activate it. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to start this off by just tapping and creating some straight segments here, just to have the general shape. Okay. Then I'm going to switch to the node tool. And for example, I'm going to tap on the second anchor point. I'm going to convert this into a smooth point by tapping on the second node type. For this one, maybe I can use the third node type to create an asymmetric point. This one, just a smooth point. Let's go for this one. I'm going to tap on the third choice here, the third node type. And you know what? The distance between this one and this one, I believe, is too long. It needs another anchor point. So I'm just going to tap on the curve right here to add another anchor point. And sometimes, you can also, if something doesn't work for you, you can switch from a node type to another node type. Okay, so this one perhaps here. This one I can convert to a smooth point. This one also to a smooth point. And this one has to be straight, of course. Okay. That seems to be okay, but for the very first node, I'm actually going to use the very last node type. So tap on that to create a cusp point. So I can move this control handle independently from the other handle, like so. Okay. Of course, I have to make sure that those two, the first node and the very last node, align to each other. They seem to do so. Okay, so I'm going to marquee select all the shape, copy this up in the edit bar, and then paste it. Just going to drag this to the other side here. And then under the arrange inspector, I'm going to flip this horizontally. Marquee select the whole shape, and under the path inspector, I'm just going to join those two paths like so. Thank you for spending time with me. Let me know if you have any questions below the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share the knowledge.